Hey, welcome back to the Ardhi Real Estate Podcast. If you guys didn't know, Ardhi stands for Land and Earth in Swahili. And if you are wondering, that's what we're all about. And here today, we're talking about buyer's problems, bumps, bruises, letters of explanation, and all that kind of stuff. So you guys know how the real nitty and gritty purchase process goes. Also, we're talking about foreclosures because I like to give a boring topic to actually inform people on this podcast sometimes, even though sometimes we also want to have fun.
Foreclosures aren't boring. I feel like there's a ton of people waiting for foreclosures.
They're really exciting, actually.
Yeah. They suck for people that are in it. But
Right.
I used to be the logistics person on the Fannie Mae contract for property preservation in the Northeast. And one time there was an imprint of a dead body on one of the carpets.
Oh, Lord.
And the maid went in there and cleaned it. And then in the pictures, because they have to take pictures to get paid and stuff, she was barefoot walking around on
the dead body print.
Yes.
Oh, God.
It was horrible.
That's wild.
That was wild business.
Heck yeah.
Property preservation is crazy.
Barefoot.
This part is done.
Is Kevin trying to rush us?
Yeah.
I can't speak. Oh, Kevin's on the soundboard. Sometimes he just ruins the party, and he just undermines my self-confidence. Everyone's telling me I'm not chocolate, and as a chocolate update, I would like to let you guys know I've been not doing good getting chocolate. I haven't been outside enough. I've been very busy. Actually, that's a good segue. Ardhi Real Estate Team is now officially a real estate brokerage. We are our own independent real estate brokerage as of today. We're going to have some official announcements, but we're looking for agents. We're looking to get agents and clients, and we're going to talk about it more in the future, but you guys are first to know officially. So shout out to you guys. Also, this is an interactive show, so make sure you ask your questions. They don't have to be on topic. They could be about anything. We usually like to answer them and give you guys help and guidance and from our experts here. So let's introduce everybody. Obviously, my name, Plankton Ryan. Oh my God, I'm Plankton. I don't think that color matches. Do you guys like this green brown suit? I feel like
that's
the green.
Perfect name.
I am Plankton, yeah.
No
one likes Plankton, you know.
That makes this the chum bucket.
Yeah. No one likes Plankton. It's all right. I'll be the bad guy. It's all good. It's fine.
That's your office.
Golly, God, everybody's just so mean. See, Drew, I told you I need words of affirmation.
Listen, I
every
told
day.
you was kind, you was smart, and you was but a pecan.
Stop the cap.
I don't want to be those things.
Oh,
Well, you need to look in the mirror and just say something. Just start saying nice stuff.
Yeah.
Today's going to be a good day.
Today's a good day.
Sometimes that's
Ice
enough.
Cube.
I say nice stuff to me, but other people say mean things.
What they say? What they say to you? I feel like Fagan Love and Money Talks. What they say?
Oh,
I
man.
can't.
At least Prince and Roma over there are having a nice time.
Yeah,
My dogs are here. I don't know. Our wide shot's down, but maybe you guys
Cutler
can
with
see
the ball.
that. Yeah. We got the home team here. Drew Thompson, PRMI. Mortgage. I have to say it's a mortgage company. I have to say something.
No.
My name is Drew Thompson.
There you go.
I work for Primary Residential Mortgage, Sewell, New Jersey. Check us out if you need to get a mortgage. We'll get you pre-approved ASAP. Rocky. And to my right.
There you go. And I'm Candace Dennis. I am Candace the Realtor, and I sell all the houses. Boom.
All of them.
There you go.
Kermit
go.
Candace.
See,
he gave you the
we
Kermit.
talked about
Kid,
this.
She about to start
We
flipping
talked about
stuff.
this, and I said, if you call me Kermit, I'm throwing these plants, I'm flipping these cameras. Change that. I'm Beyonce.
Do you have a permit? Do you have a permit for the guns?
Ooh.
What?
He said you got a permit for them guns.
I don't need them.
Well, this is New Jersey. You need a permit.
I was born with
have
these.
guns.
Mm-mm.
Oh man.
She
No.
went Herman Boone on you. She said, I am the law.
Listen, I don't need permission.
It's
now.
given what Michelle Obama is she known for her guns?
We ain't gonna start that.
Is that not good? That's
no,
a compliment.
I said who I was.
Who are you? Tell
I'm
the
She
people.
Beyonce.
said, Beyonce.
Yeah, and that's it.
How long have you been Beyonce?
I've been
though?
Beyonce since 1994 when I was born.
94.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Kevin.
I'm old.
We discussed this before we went live.
I remember 1994.
Me too.
Goodness
Oh.
gracious.
I still like country music in 1994.
No, that's not appropriate. That is not
I
appropriate.
did. I told you my parents bought me a little radio when I was like 4 years old.
Mhm.
That was the first station I got to. It was like 93.2 or something like that.
Maybe that's why you like music.
I love music. Well, my family is musical in
Mhm.
general, but that little radio, I left it on 93 forever.
You discovered country music by yourself?
Yep.
Did your parents listen to country music?
Nope. It was just the first station I got to on my radio, and it just stuck. That's all I listened to. Just country boys and girls getting down on the bar, all that shit.
Drew's one of my favorite people.
Listen, favorite human beings. Listen, I be telling people like Drew will do the loans, he will cook you a meal, he will clean your pool. Like if you need it, Drew will listen.
If you guys missed the other episode, Drew did the food for the first real estate networking mixer. Oh
like
my
this
god. I'm still thinking about that mac and cheese.
Listen, whenever you want it, you got it.
No, I can't because I just Drew, I ate it 3 times a day until it was gone.
Oh my god.
And I kept getting bigger. I was like, all right, I'm gonna get a reasonable portion. And then for lunch, bigger portion. For
Bigger
dinner, it
portion.
was like half the tray. We have a question already. Big boy toys. What's up? What's your question?
I got a question.
He's on Twitch.
All right.
Shout out to Twitch questions.
He said hi.
Yeah,
Ask
Hey.
away.
What's going on, man?
Welcome.
Yeah, ask your question before we get on the topic because we're
I was
we're
gonna say we sitting here talking about food.
reunited.
Ebony,
Ebony,
Ebony texted me like, so when's the next event? I'm like, what are you talking about? She was like, networking and neck bones. I'm like, I love this girl.
Tell her I make good neck bones. I ain't gonna lie.
Oh, neck bones. The poor animals.
Don't start.
Lord.
We don't need this negativity.
I don't know if the guests know. I don't like to tell people because the things people associate it with being a vegetarian. But I'm a vegetarian. I'm sorry. I have to
You don't eat
apologize.
vegetables, so
Yeah, I don't
that's
really
why
like
everybody
vegetables.
talk
I
about
don't
you
like
because it don't make no
vegetables.
sense.
That's
I believe
true.
the animals are our future.
Yeah.
Do you have advice?
What?
What does that say?
What is this question? Do you have any advice on how to ask your dad for something, even though he gets mad when you ask one? What does that mean?
I don't know, but let the daddy's girl answer this.
All right, let's go.
If you use a real sweet, innocent voice and your dad love you, he gonna say yes, and that's the answer. Now let's talk about foreclosures.
Foreclosures. Let's go. I like
Yes.
the tenacity.
Look at you hosting now. I appreciate
Let's go.
that.
You ain't have an answer, so I had to,
I had no idea
Come
what
in
to
with
say
the-
to that.
Yes, that was me with the Audible real quick. You're welcome.
You're on your toes today. Shout
Gotta
out to
be.
you.
Listen,
Shout out to Candace and the Toes.
Yahoo Finance title: Home foreclosures are rising nationwide, with Florida, California, and Texas in the lead. Basically, foreclosures are up 14% year over year, which
Oh,
is
God.
incredible. Which a lot of people were talking about. The foreclosures are going to go crazy eventually because of the virus that we can't talk about. Or can you talk about it now? I think
With the
maybe.
Coco 19.
Yeah, I think you can now.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
Now that they figured out that they was lying.
Oh, God.
Well then,
conspiracies
let's
or
go
whatnot.
back to the foreclosures before we get canceled out here.
And it's weird because Texas and Florida are one of the hottest real estate markets, but at the same time, they're leading the nation in foreclosures, which is interesting. Also California, but California is going down, but that's all right. We're not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
All my predictions were wrong about real estate. So if you guys go back, don't ever listen to me about predictions because I feel like I was wrong about a lot of stuff. I was like, I don't think these foreclosures are going to happen. I think that the market's going to crash. I think it's a bad time to buy. Last June, we're sitting here. I was like, this is the worst time to buy. The interest rates were a little bit better at that point. So
They
I was
were a little
wrong.
bit, and we were just kind of be optimistic.
But
I feel like the foreclosures are happening for different reasons than you were saying that they weren't going to happen.
Right.
The foreclosures are happening now because everybody was getting overtime and working all these extra hours during the pandemic because they were home and everything like that. There's been a bunch of layoffs. People can't afford the houses that they're living in and everything like that because they had a bunch of extra stated income and everything like that. So now that either they've been laid off or that they are getting less money in wages, they're financially destitute.
That's such a good point, is because it's a delayed reaction. It took longer than I thought because people are still coming off of that PPP money and all that, all the forbearances and everything like that. And I know this is only anecdotally, but I do feel like people are having a harder time now. I feel like people have less money, extra money in their pocket. They're tightening up. They're not buying as much stuff, which is like kind of signs of maybe a little recession happening. Because I don't know. People are being tighter with money, I feel like.
They have to be, because I mean, again, even though we're on like the 11th month of the inflation decline, but everything is still elevated. And again, with everybody working, I'll say less, because again, we're not in the pandemic anymore and everything's open back up. There's more opportunity and everything like that. I feel like people just have less money. So having less money, they got to tighten up their finances and everything like that. They're not going to survive, especially with people being worried about losing their jobs. I think I was talking to y'all about, people in the mortgage industry worried about you losing their jobs and stuff like that, processors, underwriters, and things of that nature. And because, again, the volume isn't there in certain industries and stuff like that, a lot of the companies are laying people off.
Yeah, it's funny because labor had such an advantage with the companies they work for, but I think that's balancing back out because before, employees could just do whatever they want. They could work from home and the business couldn't tell them nothing because they couldn't find other people to hire. But I think that's balancing out. So I think a lot of things are changing.
Well, yeah, you said, again, the PPP money was huge. People that were starting their businesses or had just started a business were getting these big PPP loans. They were going self-employed. And now it's like, all right, well, I went self-employed. I got this PPP loan. The money's not there anymore. My business isn't thriving.
They going to jail.
So they go to jail, but they got to get back out there in the workplace, and they're not getting the wages that they were getting before because they have a job gap.
Candace, are you seeing people be broke out here now?
I mean, I just feel like the economy just overall, like it's just it's becoming more and more expensive to just like exist. We were paying what, like $8 for like a dozen of eggs at one point. Like I just paid 2 a couple days ago, so hopefully it stays that low. But it's becoming more expensive to live, but like our income isn't increasing. So if you look at it that way, everybody's on a budget. I think another thing that's probably contributing to all these foreclosures that a lot of people aren't talking about is these higher property values. And it's a good thing for like equity and stuff like that. But when people get their tax assessments done and their taxes go up because now your property is worth more and all this stuff, now your property taxes have gone up, which then means your monthly mortgage payment goes up. And I've had clients call me who bought back in like 2020 and stuff like that. And they're like, hey, Candace, like, so my mortgage payment just went up by like $150 a month. And I'm like, well, why? And they start talking about like escrow analysis and, their property taxes are higher now and stuff like that. So, I think that has something to do with it too. And then a lot of people, it's funny that you mentioned Texas, which is huge with like new construction. We see those reels and stuff all the time of those beautiful homes out in Texas, but they're all new construction properties. And I don't know too much about Texas because I'm over here in Jersey, but I do know a lot about new construction and how those properties are, assessed. And you may think that your property taxes are going to be $3,000 or whatever, but after the town come in and slap you with a 5-figure annual tax amount, that's taking your payment up hundreds of dollars, and a lot of people don't expect it. So,
one more thing about the article and foreclosures. So I don't want to be alarmist like all these other people running around. The actual rate of foreclosures actually now with the increase is on par with what it was before the pandemic in 2019. So it's at the baseline when things were normal. So it'll be interesting to keep track of, and I'll definitely keep looking at if it rises above this baseline. That'll be a signal, because right now it's really technically it's normalized. So it'll be interesting to follow up and see, like, it's right now is not a foreclosure crisis or anything, but if it keeps ticking up, maybe we'll see what's going on.
And I think the other huge part of that is the people that were in forbearance and that were getting, that were in forbearance during the pandemic and everything like that, they're not the ones that are in foreclosure right now because they got assistance. They had the FHA that went and did the 40-year modifications. They got, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac who are doing the modifications on their loans and everything like that. So the people that are probably in foreclosure right now are the ones that, again, had the increases because of their taxes, or they got decrease in their wage and they can't afford it. They overbought during the pandemic, and now they can't afford the place that they're living in and everything like that. So it'll be interesting to see.
Before we get into buyer bruises and bumps, this is an interactive show, so ask your questions. I see 10 or 11 of y'all in there, and don't be a ninja watcher. That's weird. Oh, here we have Kev, go back. We have Elijah. Inflation was 7.1% last year, and mortgages was a tough industry. I saw a lot of good loan officers lose their job. Mortgages is always like that. Like the companies just start laying people off as soon as the interest rates change. So
yeah.
What else? A whole bunch of acquisitions and stuff like that too.
Acquisitions, and again, if you're working in a call center as a loan officer, I mean, your job is like never safe unless you're like the guy there.
They're like a revolving door all the time.
Elijah said, isn't the Midwest the best market for new investors? Cleveland, you can get a fully renovated duplex for $90K. I like the pricing, but who the heck wants to live in Cleveland? So I only want to buy in places that are on the up and up, and I don't think that's a desirable area. So you're only going to get people that live there by necessity, and I just don't prefer those types of markets. I'm a fan of Florida, Texas, Arizona, Nevada.
There's a good market in Cleveland right now. And
why?
I don't know what the draw is there. And it could be, it's cheap. I'll equate Cleveland to what Philly was 5 years ago. They're doing a lot of renovations of their older properties and everything like that, and the property values are still cheap.
Philly is close to New York. It's close to the beach. I think there's a more appeal than Cleveland. I'm sorry. If you live in Cleveland, I'm just taking a big city, but I just don't see it. So.
No, I feel like, I mean, just from what I've seen and everything, I feel like they're just trying to build that area up and stuff like that out there, just because of where the property value is, and they see what it could happen again. Like you said, Philly is close to New York and everything like that, and they got some other draws. But I mean, Ohio is a big state. I mean, when we were doing refinance and stuff like that, Ohio was one of the largest states that was doing refis and cash outs. And
well, let me say this, as not to be too negative. If you want to get into investing, going to a cheap market like that is probably a good place to get started.
To be safe, yeah.
Just because you don't have a lot of entry money to get started. Because I started in Camden, New Jersey, and the first house we bought was $40,000. Yeah, so
there's people that are investing in Detroit right now.
Yeah,
the properties are super cheap out there.
Yeah, I guess I'm becoming that guy. I'm in a different phase where it's like I look at like the macro environment to even like before I would decide to put money in an area.
My cousin actually just moved to Ohio, and that's the thing, when there's so much remote work now, I feel like people are going back to the office just a little bit more, but if you can work from anywhere and you can buy over here for real cheap, get you a decent property, it's like, well, I'm gonna still have my job, so why am I going to spend all this money if it doesn't matter where I work? I mean, where I live.
It smells funny over there.
My cousin just up and moved. I was like, what you doing this weekend? She's like, you forgot I moved to Cleveland, girl.
Oh goodness.
Okay. Congratulations.
Elijah, tune in next week. I'm gonna look at the data and the stats to see why people are moving out there outside of the fact that the property values are a little bit cheaper, and we'll get back to you.
I think that's the only reason. Dang, I'm shady today.
Yeah, Drew gonna find something for you.
I'm gonna find something.
Cleveland, they gonna beat me up.
They are. Listen,
you talk about my city like that.
LeBron gonna come get you. Cleveland, this is for you.
Even LeBron didn't want to stay in Cleveland. LeBron was like, I'm going to LA. Going to Miami.
He from there, Steph's from there,
He ain't there now.
Some hitters. Did we have more comments? I thought I saw more comments.
The Cleveland. Elijah said the Cleveland Clinic is pumping millions of dollars in renovations into that area. Well, healthcare is always good because, they certain amount of doctors and all that nurses need to be around those type of things.
Let a big company go and move over there, and you'll see a big change over there. Let Amazon throw a warehouse or something over there, and that's all it takes.
True.
And again, that's probably part of it too. I mean, you look at North Carolina. I mean, they're for the past 5 years they've been skyrocketing down there, and they're building just all because again all the land is down there, the colleges and everything like that, and they're just building out.
Yeah.
Not to get too political, but the southern states are more encouraging for business. So that's a big narrative for me. Like that's where they're attracting a lot of business.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. People are they're leaving California. They're losing population, and New York, New Jersey is losing population because it's just harder to do business.
Well, they can move out of New Jersey if they want, because I don't like traffic, and it's too many of y'all here anyway. So go ahead.
I feel like people are
moving
moving
Africa.
into New Jersey though. Like
from New York.
From New York.
Yeah, they are.
There's a mass migration there. I mean, they said that 8,000 people a day move to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's nuts.
I'm moving to Africa. That's my retirement plan. People think I'm kidding. I'm not. I'm out of here. See you. I'm gonna work remote from Africa. How about
From
that?
Africa?
Yeah.
Was there other comments?
I'm waiting for our host to introduce this new topic. I'm just talking.
Oh, my bad. Let's go. Let's do this. Actually, kind of on the topic we were talking about before. I mean, if we're gonna
awkward segue. Hey,
it was only awkward when you started talking and did that little lean thing you just did.
Hey.
But buyer bumps, bruises, big mistakes. One of the things that we were just talking about was the taxes going up on property values and things of that nature. And this wasn't a fault of the buyer, but I feel like it was a bump and a bruise of her process overall as becoming a homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
So she purchased a property in Trenton, New Jersey. And when she purchased that property in Trenton, New Jersey, she bought it from a flipper. Mm-hmm. So that flipper had open permits for some of the work that he did, and they weren't closed out before we closed on the home or whatever.
Oh, wow.
So the township last year sent the mortgage company a tax bill for $12,000.
Was it a fine or just the permit cost by itself?
They were just increasing the taxes for work done.
Oh,
in Trenton, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're telling her that her taxes are $12,000 in Trenton, New Jersey.
Wow.
That's why you got to move in the South.
Nuts. So, she called me and everything like that. And she was just like, Drew, like, you're telling me my taxes are $12,000. There's nothing around here for $12,000.
That's crazy.
So looking at it and everything like that, the permits that he had out that were open and everything like that, it was like they registered as like doing double work. So like, because they never closed it out or anything like that. So her assessment went through the roof and nobody would change it for her. So she was in danger of because her mortgage payment shot up from $1,500 because she bought during the pandemic to $3,200.
That's crazy.
Some bums in the government didn't know what they was doing.
They know what they was doing, trying to double charge her.
Sounds about right.
But yeah, so Candace.
Oh God.
Oh, intellectual something had a comment.
What was that?
Intellectual conversations with BJ said, "Great show, thank you, appreciate that,
BJ. Appreciate
shout out to you.
Yeah, I need all the positive encouragement possible.
We appreciate you being here, BJ.
I'll be going through it, need some positivity.
Let's go. But yeah, we're going to talk about some buyer experiences tonight. We've all been in the industry for almost like a decade now.
Okay.
Yeah, right. And we've just been through so many different experiences and so many different things that buyers have come through our pipelines with, as far as explanations for different things on their mortgages or different things in their financial situations. And these are some of the things that you probably shouldn't do when you are looking to buy a house or you're in the process of buying a house. So Candace, I know you said that you had a letter that you had got from a client. Tell me a little bit about that.
I gotta find it. Oh my God. No.
Oh God.
Okay, guys. So I'm a real estate agent now and have been one for 5 years. But prior to that, I was a loan processor. So I was that annoying person that would reach out to you guys all the time and ask you for all this documentation. And y'all be ready to fight me. But eventually you get your house and then you would like me. But some of the things. So I think what a lot of people don't realize is finding your home and getting your offer accepted. That's almost the easy part of the home buying journey. I know with this market, finding a house is a little bit more difficult, but once you get into the loan process, Drew would explain this a lot better, but depending on how involved your situation is, we call them like clean files, where it's something where they come right in, everything kind of makes sense, it checks out, the underwriter approves it, boom, you're done, now you have your house. But it's a lot more common where that isn't always the case. And so when you guys are under contract and you're going through that mortgage process, there are going to be different things that your processor, underwriter, or loan officer is going to be reaching out to you and, you know, asking you to explain different things. And y'all, in the years that when I left my job, guys, I literally took pictures of, I had this wall, I called it like the wall of shame. And it wasn't any bad letters. It was just the goofiest letters that you would not believe people wrote them to buy a house. Like, you would think that they would take this process so seriously, but I would get these letters and I'm like, what is going on? So
yeah.
let
me stop Candace for a second. Yeah. Let me just again pay attention, guys, because you guys are asking when you're buying a house to borrow $300,000 plus.
Yeah.
You're asking for somebody to give you more money than anybody's ever given you in your life. So you need to be professional in your explanations for different things with your financial situations and with your credit and with your employment. So when people ask you things, you need to explain. So Candace, I'm gonna kick it back to you. Read us one of those letters that you're.
This stuff is funny. And by the way, guys, like I said, this is old from when I used to process. So all these letters, I have the name scratched out. I don't even know who wrote these letters, and they're dated back to 2017. So just so you guys know. But this one particular buyer had to explain why there was a bankruptcy on his credit report. And his explanation was, my wife and I had to file bankruptcy in 2014 after she had an affair, and her sex buddy wouldn't leave the family alone after I found out. I took his wife the pictures of a cruise that they went on, and he attacked me. I cracked his head open with a bat and received a prison sentence of 120 days, at which time our bills were too much for my ex-wife to handle. Y'all, when your loan officer reaches out and asks you why you filed for bankruptcy, this ain't what they looking for.
No.
Needless to say, I could not submit that, and I had to call him like, listen, I'm sorry that this happened to you, but can you talk me through this and I can help you write a better letter, because we are not sending this in.
Yeah,
he needed therapy.
He needed therapy.
He had to tell somebody.
And anger management.
He had to tell somebody what happened. That's what happened.
So if I was to get that letter in, I would say, all right, well, let's shorten this down. Let's bring it back a little bit. Let's say I was incarcerated for a period of time, and while I was incarcerated, my wife's income was the only income that we were getting in, so we could not afford our bills. So at that time, we had to file for
bankruptcy. Why can't you just come up with a better sob story that's just less?
The sob story doesn't really matter.
Whatever you want.
We just want to know why things happen the way they did, but you don't want to give them too much information, because the more information that you give on a letter sometimes, and we talked about this on the podcast
keep
before,
it simple.
Yeah,
keep it simple. The more information you give, the worse sometimes, you know, because again, we're going to look at that and be like, oh, okay, so they got a lot going on here.
Right.
They're getting divorced. He has a divorce here. We did a divorce decree because they didn't give that to us the first time. All right, he was incarcerated, so he has a job gap. You know, there's a whole bunch of can of worms that you're going to open up at that point.
The lender doesn't care about your feelings. They just care about the very specific things that match up with their guidelines. So,
boom. And I even tell my buyers all the time, I'm like, look, when Drew asks you for something, like, send him exactly what he asks for and nothing that he doesn't. So, like, if it's 2 months of bank statements, like, please don't send that third month, because we don't know what's on that bank statement. And I don't know if Drew or Bernadette or Lorraine or whoever is working with Drew right now got the time to sit and look through those bank statements. But there have been times, guys, where people will submit stuff and you're so busy, like, trying to, I guess, overachieve because you want to be that good buyer, right? Like, when the loan officer or whoever reaches out to you and asks you for documentation, you want to make sure you're on point. So you're sending them everything that they're asking for. But sometimes, like, y'all be shooting for the stars, but you also catch, like, the moon and all the other planets too. And they don't need all that stuff.
Because we're going to be like, oh, you got a moon?
Right.
Oh, how much that moon cost you per month?
Right.
They're going to ask more questions.
Yep.
Why Delonda said, don't get scammed by Greg Big Business. And that's the the guy from Philly.
Oh yeah,
And he'd be buying
yeah.
stuff in Cleveland. I wasn't gonna say that, but
He's heavy in Cleveland right now.
I heard about him.
And then
wow.
Eben, well, I see. I don't know about these scams and stuff when people talk about them because people don't understand money, so they get into an agreement and then they're mad because they didn't get their money back. So they'll call it a scam. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. I don't know, but that's kind of my perspective. And DJ Envy, you know, like all these people's talking about they got scammed. Maybe the business just didn't work. Like it's hard to tell. Like don't believe either side when that stuff comes out.
Yeah, and read your fine print paperwork when you're looking up and working with these online personalities and stuff like that, and people that are big names.
Don't work with the online people. Come on, now.
Don't say that because we're online.
I was about to say,
but read your contracts. Read your contracts.
No, but we're not offering like no. You can work with like professionals, but when they come up with cockamamie investment scheme plans, classes, and stuff, you got to really do your.
You got to do your due diligence, yeah.
9 out of 10 of them people is capping. One of them's for real, though.
But you don't always know. I mean, and to Drew's point that we are all online, they could say the same thing about us.
Yeah.
Oh, she's posting this stuff and she's doing this and she's doing that. Like, is she really doing this stuff?
You should be skeptical, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do your due diligence. Read your contracts. Read your paperwork. And if you don't feel right about something, get a second opinion.
Right. Vet people, get reviews, all that kind of stuff.
Well, I know you've had a good... what do we call experience with your person? I don't know if you want to talk about.
Well,
oh, never mind. Well, your person's kind of online.
A good experience with my person.
I think he's talking about like mentor wise and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm like, huh? Just say it. Like, what are you talking about? Oh, okay. So yes, I have a mentor who I met online through the same thing, like just, you know, of course had a big following and things like that. But aside from that, I mean, if she had 12 followers, I probably wouldn't have found her if she only had 12 followers. But she does the work in real life. So I do think that it works. But there are a lot of people who do the same thing that she does in a sense that they offer mentoring, they offer training and all this kind of stuff. And they're just a bunch of paid classes, just another source of income. But that's where vetting people and getting reviews and all that stuff actually make a difference. Because I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if you can't do what I'm trying to learn how to do, then how can you teach me? Absolutely. And so that's where, you know, my mentor is all the way down south in Atlanta, but she does all the things that I eventually want to do and I can see it for myself. So that's who my mentor is. You can't sell me something and I haven't seen you do it.
Absolutely. Because there's a lot of people that are that teach people how to sell online courses.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so
I can see that. There's a course to teach you how to make courses.
How to make courses, yeah. So like, you know, you do got to be skeptical, you know, but like she was saying, like with the Greg Parker and those other guys that are out there, like, you know, a lot of times when you see his stuff out there, he'll explain when he gets a bad review or something like that. But again, it's still cyclical to the, you know, is it him or is it them? You know, did you read your contract or did he really slick something into your contract that wasn't legit or whatever? You know, we won't know, you know, so we can't speak on his character or anything like that. You got to do your due diligence.
Yep. What's that? Ebony said your head looks rather shiny. There you go. Positive. Is that a compliment when my head's shiny?
We told him he was glistening.
I'm well moisturized.
What's up, baby?
Eb, I got I'm segue. Oh, not even segue. Real aside, Eb, I got some study materials for you that I'm going to email you. Send me your email.
Oh, so back to sorry, that was
sorry about that.
It's the like personable like relationships for me because no, seriously, because like people really take this kind of stuff for granted when you like build a community and you meet people, then you meet them in real life, then you become a resource for them, like and all this kind of stuff. Like Ebony's on here every single week and she's my client in real life. And then like to see her link with Drew because she want to be a loan officer and all, like people be sleeping on this stuff. I feel like this is so dope.
It's so super awesome.
Indeed it is.
For sure.
Ryan, you need to smile.
But circling back around to, you know, those buyer stories and everything like that. You know, one of the things again you mentioned was like, you know, bank statements and stuff like that, you know. So one of the stories that I was remembering was when I was at Freedom, you know, I was working in the call center and everything like that. So a guy had sent me his bank statements and he was overdrawn in his bank account. So they were like, you ain't got no job. Yeah,
that's the best.
So because he had the non-sufficient funds, like overdraft fees. They weren't
Okay.
going to let him close. So looking at his bank accounts and everything like that, he was on like an online like a chat room site. So all of the things that were making him overdraft, he was overdrafted like $500 at a time or whatever. But he was like buying tokens to some like
Oh my god,
sex website, and I'm like, he's like, I don't get it. I get paid every 2 weeks. Da, 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 da. I'm like, yeah, sir, you do. I said, but you keep overdrafting your account and everything like that. What I do on my personal time is none of your business. I don't even know why you're looking at my bank statements. Da, da. I'm like, because you're asking this for money.
No.
You're
Like,
asking
seriously.
this for $40,000. Like, yes,
Yeah.
we're looking at your bank statements. See if you got any money in there.
Just the overall logic that like what I do with my money is none of your business. When you're asking for this much money, y'all, it is their business. Like
Yeah.
it is their business for this this short period of time, 30 to 45 days. Hopefully it ain't no longer than that. And if it is, please call Drew for the love of God. But for the time you're under contract, like they gonna be all in your business, but it's all worth it in the end. Like I don't want it to come off negative, like, oh, you guys got to deal with it because you need a loan. But that's the reality of it. And it's short term, like, stress and just being like irritated and stuff like that. But think about like the silver lining or the rainbow pot of gold, whatever. Y'all know what that thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that kind of goes with what Ebony's saying, because she said, OMG, the damn road to closing is bumpy and uneven. And, as an agent, I always want to try to make it as smooth as possible. And I get upset when the client has a hard time and it's bumpy and rough. Sometimes you just can't. Yeah, sometimes you just can't do a lot about it. I mean, there's exceptions. You got to write letters. The bank statement, now they have a Cash App thing in there, and they got to explain where the Cash App came from, and that's just how it goes. And a lot of times, the stuff is out of the realtor's hands, and the mortgage company is just doing what they're supposed to do. Now the processor. they need to be better sometimes. Though. That's
Don't even be the processor.
It's the processor.
Like,
and I'll tell you guys, like, again, being a loan officer, I try to prep my clients for the things that everybody's going to ask for. I try to get those things ahead of time. Like if I need a letter explanation from you, hey, I'm going to need to write a letter explanation for this. Right. I'm going to need a letter explanation for that. I try to prepare people for those things. If there's a credit situation and I'm like, all right, well, we've got to do X, Y, and Z, or I need you to pay X, Y, and Z down. The problems come in a lot of time when people don't listen. If people don't listen to the things that you say, like if you're not trusting your professional to be your professional, when they tell you to pay an account off, or when they tell you, hey, don't send your cousin $7,000 in the middle of our process. Don't accept cash money into your bank account in the middle of our process because we can't use that money. Don't quit your job in the middle of our process because you're not going to get your house. Right. And they don't listen to those things. That's where we run into the issues. Or again, one of the things I say up front to everybody is, hey, I'm the guy that sees your file before the underwriter sees it. So be 100% honest with me, because it's going to come up later on down the road if you don't tell me. And when people don't tell us what's going on with their file, that's when we get in trouble. Yeah. Because I'm like, hey, well, why didn't you tell me you were married?
Right.
Huh? Why didn't you tell me that you were married? Oh, well, yeah, I got married when I first moved to the country, but we're not together anymore. But you were married. Right. And why didn't you tell me? You're still married, technically, legally. Oh, God. And we didn't find out until she sent us her 2020 tax returns, because they were required for the state program and everything like that. And they're like, well, there's a husband on here. Where's he at? Oh, wow. Where's the divorce decree? Where's the separation agreement? And she was like, oh, we don't have any of that. We just left each other.
Yeah, people need to understand the ramifications of things that they do. Sometimes they might live separated and not care about it, but you have a legally binding agreement, and it's just going to be there until you do something about it, and you can't get mad because that was the agreement you were a part of, and then now you gotta do something about it,
Absolutely.
And not even just like, oh, I'm sorry, but I was about to say, not even just with like marriage, separation, divorce, and all that specifically, but just overall, what I notice is, because I have some clients that will act like that. Oh, well, the lender told me I got to do this, but I think they just want me to and it's just like, oh my gosh. Once you can get them to shift their mindset to the simple fact that we're working with you and not against you, I feel like that makes a huge deal, because if you know that your loan officer wants to get you to the closing table, you'll say, okay, well, like this, so this is what we're dealing with. This is, there's going to be this large deposit here, but this is where it came from. Like, how should we, all of this stuff is kind of damage control, y'all, like for real. But like preventative, because if you can give Drew all this stuff from the very beginning, he can put together a package and paint a picture that will make perfect sense to an underwriter and save you guys so much stress down the line. A lot of y'all are stressed the heck out because you're not doing that in the beginning. So what's happening is they're putting the file together best they can. They're sending it in. The underwriter's coming up with all kinds of stuff and asking all these questions. And now they got to spin the block and ask you all again. When in reality, you get it all out the way in the beginning, and then more times than not, you're smooth sailing after that.
People need to realize that this is one of the most regulated industries in the country. And that means that there's a book like this big of rules that they're following. And when you submit your loan, they're basically making sure that it checks all those boxes, and there's a million rules. So when you approach this, it's not like doing business with your friend or somebody or convincing someone of something. They have to follow a very strict rule book. And basically there's a whole bunch of check boxes, and they all have to get checked. So you want to approach it in a logical and short, decisive manner. So whether it's a letter of explanation or the income amount, everything has to be exact and proven. And therefore, don't get frustrated. Just check the box. And if you're savvy and you don't offer too much information and just do exactly what is asked of you, usually the people in the process are trying to get all your boxes checked. You just have to do what they're asking you to do to check those boxes so you can get to the finish line.
Yeah, absolutely. So we just closed last season. I just closed a loan with Kaylin. And the client, when Kay sent it to me, she had a difficult employment situation. So her situation was she was at a job and she had to leave that job for whatever reason. After she left that job, she went to school to become a truck driver. So she had a little bit of an employment gap, but she was in school. So we could fill the employment gap with the fact that she was in school to get, a license for something, which again, if you are in school for a tech job, if you're in school in college or something like that, we can use that as employment history as long as you get a certificate of completion at the end of that. If you give us your diploma and your transcripts, we can use that as your job history. But going back to her, and then she worked one job that was not in her field directly, but she also worked a second job at the same time. And then she got another job at another place that was in the field that she went to school for. So her employment was all over the place when she came to me, and she was like, well, I worked here and I worked there and I worked this and I worked that. So part of what, I told her when we started, I said, listen, I said, it makes sense to me. I hear what you're saying. I have to make this make sense to the underwriter. So I understand what you're saying. This is great, but how do we make this make sense to the underwriter? Because the underwriters, like you said, if they have to ask me for it, their mind, imagine, any question that you've ever had about science or space or anything like that. You're like, oh, I don't know how that works. The underwriter is thinking the same thing. They're thinking the craziest, most outlandish thing about this person's situation because they don't know. But if we tell them up front, like, hey, this is their situation. They worked here at this time. The reason why they were doing this was because they were doing that. They got this education at this point in time. And we put that all in a letter to them the first time. The underwriter's going to be like, okay, that makes sense. Approved.
Kev, Elijah's newest Facebook comment. People need to think as the bank for a second. If someone asks them for $10,000 to $100,000, when you want to know every detail to make sure you think they will pay you back.
Yeah.
That was huge for me when explaining to clients because they have to pay it back all the time for 30 years.
Yeah.
I say that all the time.
You wouldn't,
complete sense.
Yeah, you wouldn't give your cousin $100 without asking him when you gonna give it back to me.
Let alone a stranger, because my cousin owed me $20 the last 2 years. I'd be like, listen.
Ebony said, Candace can't see the screen with Kevin's titles, but he was calling you one of the Powerpuff Girls, and then Ebony said,
oh, was it Buttercup? Because
yeah, I think it was. And then Ebony said, oh my God, I love that name for Candace, but she's more like Bubbles, so sweet and something.
It's ebony for me. No, I'm Buttercup. So, side story, I'm one of 3 sisters, and I was definitely Buttercup out of the Powerpuff Girls. Like they literally called us like Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup, and I was Buttercup. Yeah, that was me.
Do you have more letters?
Oh, I do have one more, y'all. This one is long. He told his whole life story. Listen,
Are these people lonely sometimes?
they're real. They
Yeah.
real. These women be driving them crazy. All right, so this one had to explain cash deposits.
Okay.
Do you want to explain that real quick though? Because I feel like people think that income is just income. And I was actually talking about this on my live a couple days ago, and I'm like, the way that you're paid matters. Just like consistency, like is it just random? Like is it cash? Is it a pay stub? Like what are they looking for?
So when we're looking at your bank statements, we're going to look, we say, all right, you work for AT&T. So we should see directly, you're getting direct deposits every 2 weeks from AT&T. And any other large deposits that are going into your bank account that is not a place of employment, we're going to know where that money is coming from. Because that means to us, either you are self-employed or you're getting money from someplace else, and we want to know where that money is coming from. Because what happened back before 2008, people were laundering money through mortgages. So they were taking their cash and mattress money and buying property and then taking the equity out. So again, they were essentially washing it through the process and everything like that.
Yeah.
So now the banks, because like Ryan said, we're one of the most heavily regulated industries in the country. Now they're like, all right, if you have cash, we can't use cash because we can't verify where that cash is coming from. So there's very few instances where we can take cash. So if you meticulously get paid every 2 weeks, and every 2 weeks we can see a cash withdrawal out of your bank account for $500, and you did that for 10 weeks straight, and then at the end of that 10 weeks we saw the amount of money that equaled $500 for 10 weeks and everything like that. Okay, that makes sense. You saved this amount of money. We saw it coming out of your bank account. That makes sense. But if you have $20,000 that you put into your bank account the month before we start to go to closing, you've never taken cash out of your account, they consider that mattress money, and they're not going to prove it because they're going to think that that money came from a nefarious source unless you're able to prove it.
Right.
And there's no way that you can prove cash unless, again, you got some type of receipt system or anything like that. A lot of people that make tips, if you're not tracking your tips in a notebook or log or anything like that, it's not going to show in your tax returns or anything like that. So how are we able to use your tips?
If they take a notebook or a log? If
it's meticulous, yeah. If they've meticulously gone through and logged your tips at the end of the night and everything like that, and they have a ledger, and they submit it. Now, again, that's a lot of work.
Pay attention to the details, people.
Pay attention to the details. But again,
matters.
if you have that kind of stuff and you have that kind of bookkeeping and everything like that for yourself, the underwriters will use it. They'll be mad that they have to go through it all.
Like written by you, self-reported?
Self-reported, yeah.
But wait, what if it was? Will they go through every single one? What if it just looks like a log and it's
they'll look.
No, they're
gonna look for
every single.
They're gonna look for everything.
Really?
Yeah. Because
it has to match.
It's got to match. It's a special situation. So I got a client recently that their job, when they get cash tips, they register that through them and they're shown on their W-2, which was great. They're shown on their bank statement. It's shown on their pay stub that they got X, Y, and Z amount of in cash tips, and they got X, Y, and Z amount in their base pay and everything like that. So cash money, whenever you get it, again, it has to be verified. We have to verify where that cash is coming from. We can't verify where it came from. We can't use it at all. No cash whatsoever.
But you can self-report it.
You can self-report it, again, as long as it's been meticulously kept and verified by your employer.
Oh, wait, it has to be it has to be verified by the employer.
Yeah. So you're going to need a letter from the employer saying that, again, you work for tips and you again, this is what the average, because again, all the employers are going to keep a log of what you making your tips anyway.
Gotcha.
I was about to ask, how would that work with people who get paid under the table? Because
people, if you get paid under the table, we're not using that money.
Yeah,
we can't use under the table money. We can't use my cousin pays me every 3 weeks or once a month. They give me $5,000 for this, unless they write you again a receipt or give you a W-2 at the end of the year or a 1099. We're not going to be able to use that money. So
it's a lot, y'all. This is why consultations and all this stuff is important too. Even if, because I had a girl reach out to me and she's like, I know I'm not ready, but I just want to talk to somebody. And I'm like, you know what? I can't even blame you, because then once you get deep into these conversations like this and you notice how unique every situation is, it's almost like you definitely want to have these consultations as early as possible, especially if you know you have a unique situation like that.
Even a year out, like this is why you need good people, because regular people aren't going to want to talk to you that far out, but good agents, good loan officers have that conversation, have a plan, have them look at your stuff. Because if you're self-employed, you got tips. If you're in any special category, you'll decide you want to buy a house and then find out they can't use your income because you didn't keep a logbook, or you didn't file your taxes right, or there's a multitude of issues. Now you have to wait a year or 2 years to get all your stuff together. And when you could have just had a conversation for free, probably most people aren't going to charge you to sit down and talk to them, and then you'll be good.
I love laying out the blueprint. I tell oh, I'm looking to buy a house in the middle of next year. All right, let's start now. Because again, we can map and blueprint. Oh, I'm good. My credit score is 700. All right, well, our top tier for credit scores is 760. Let's figure out how to get you there, because your interest rate's going to be better. It's going to save you it again in a lot of instances. It's going to save you $60,000 plus in interest by getting you a better interest rate, or it's going to save you money at closing by getting your credit score up. So let's figure that out. Let's figure out how much money you're going to have to put down if you don't have any money saved right now.
Right.
If you have things that are on your credit report that are derogatory, if you have bad credit, how do we get you to 580? How do we get you to 620? Do you need to open up more credit accounts? All those things you have to bear in mind and pay attention to if you're looking to buy in the future. So don't wait until you're ready. You need to buy when your lease is up or your back's against the wall. Your mom is kicking you out. You got to get out of the basement.
Yep, it's too late.
Do it before then.
What's going on, Brianna, Jeremy, Mark Ellis? What's up, people? How y'all doing?
Mark in the building. What's up, Mark?
Oh, wait, we were talking about cash receipts before.
Oh, yeah. You were going into your letter.
Oh, this letter, y'all. Because I'm just looking at this paragraph like, bro, you did not have to tell us all of this, but okay. All right.
Am I going to laugh?
I will hope not, this poor gentleman.
Oh.
To whom it may concern, he said his name, I will not read it, would like to state that in regards to my previous letters about my then girlfriend who stays with me, who would use my bank debit card and then routinely reimburse me with cash, she has stated that she was actually borrowing from her friends because she hasn't been working for almost a year and a half, which was not to my knowledge.
You ain't got no job.
Always the women.
To be honest, it was not something that we would discuss. All I cared about was the fact that I was getting my money back because I had my own bills and obligations to take care of. Well, she has recently informed me that she will not be making the move with me to the town they were moving to, and doesn't care if I get the house or not, because for one, it was too close to my family, which she didn't really get along with. And secondly, she feels like she lost herself since she's been with me. And she feels that I'm holding her back from accomplishing her lifelong dreams, which I totally understand because I'm more of a go person where she's more of like I'll get there when I get there type. Anyways, she hasn't said exactly where she'll be staying, but she has told me to stop bothering her about it and to not worry about her because she will take care of herself. My lease for this apartment ends on the date that it ended, September 2017. So I guess I'll find out then. At the moment, to be personal, we sleep in different rooms and we have barely ever communicated. This house thing is more for me to at least have something to show for all of my life's hard work. Y'all, this is a real letter, okay?
What was the question?
And it was all about cash deposits. You did not explain.
Oh.
You explained, but you did not explain. Like you told us so much stuff, and it gave us absolutely nothing at the same time. And now I can't submit this to the underwriter, but now I want to pray for you.
Did he close?
I want to pray for you, and I still want to know, where does she get the cash to pay you back?
That's what I thought this was going to.
So what ended up happening was, so he was supposed to move with it's crazy how I remember like very specific situations, but he was supposed to move with the girlfriend. And then I guess whatever happened, she decided she wasn't moving with him or whatever. But these cash deposits could have been like sourced by her, but she didn't want to help because of whatever they were dealing with personally.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was all of those cash deposits, of course, if they can't be sourced, they can't be, they're omitted at that point. So what happened was, had to go through all those cash deposits, remove those from the available balance. He ended up just having enough money to close. But guys, when that happens and you're short for closing, now you need a gift or something like that. And if your entire file is cleared and then something like this pops up and you got some personal beef on the side or something like that, like these things can cost you your home, because let's say this guy did end up, the money's there, but because those cash deposits can't be sourced, the money's not there according to the mortgage company.
Mhm.
So it's insane how things like this happen. And we might look as just general, regular schmegular people saying, well, it says I got 30K in here and I need 29K for closing, so that's enough. Yeah, but if 5,000 of these dollars can't be sourced, then you're 4K short.
Yeah. You don't have 30K to us. You have 25.
Right.
And you need 27 to close.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if we go back over to the whole gift situation, if you're going to get a gift from somebody, don't take it through Zelle. Ryan was talking about Zelle earlier. Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have somebody give you cash. Don't do that, because we're not going to accept it. As you can see, again, we can't take cash deposits. You're going to want to write somebody to write you a personal check for the amount that they're gifting you.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to deposit that check into your bank account. And then after you deposit that check into your bank account, we need to see one of your bank statements. And then that person that gave you that money, we're going to need to see their bank account.
Showing it cleared. Yep.
Showing that it cleared, showing that they had the funds available to themselves, showing that they didn't put cash in their bank account from you to give you a gift.
Because that's huge too, because we see that sometimes too, where like if you tell me that I need a $3,000 gift and I have the 3K in cash, I give it to Ryan, he gives it to me, but then when I submit the bank statement, you then see that he had a cash deposit right before he gave me the gift. So now we can't use this gift either.
Just make sure
it's
the
crazy, y'all.
Just make sure the money's already in your account 60 days. Right? 60?
Yeah, that's the fix,
Seasoning
folks,
or something like that.
Yeah. So as long as you don't have a special situation like you're getting child support or you're getting Social Security, because in those situations we're going to need to see 3 months continuation of those going into your bank account. But in a regular situation, we are just looking at the last 60 days of your bank account.
What if you have an abnormal amount of cash versus your income? Doesn't matter.
Versus your income, it doesn't matter.
If I make minimum wage, but I have 200K in my account, they won't do any forensics.
They're not going to do any forensics on it because it doesn't matter where it came from to us at that
Shout
point.
out to the drug dealers.
As long hello. Again, as long as it's 60 day season, it doesn't matter where it came from for us.
Okay.
Now, again, if we see anything in that bank account after that 60 days, you got $1 million in your account, and we see one little cash deposit, then they're going to be like, all right, that's point of reason for us to look into where you got the rest of this money from, and you only make $40,000 a year.
So don't have any deposits.
And you
after
if it ain't payroll.
Yeah. The general rule of thumb is if it's larger than what your payroll is, they're going to question it. If it's over $1,000, they're going to question it. If it's reoccurring every other week or something like that, and it's a cash deposit or a direct deposit, they want to know what it is.
Yeah, I had difficulty with that because some of my tenants pay me Cash App, Venmo, all that kind of stuff. So then you got to do a whole accounting of that. And then it's a mess because there's no export or whatever from that. So you just take screenshots of the Cash App, and then you got like $5 for pizza and all that kind of stuff that, so it's a whole mess when you go through it.
Yeah. I ran into a situation.
Really hard, guys.
What?
Huh?
I'm just going to buy a chain.
I'm just gonna buy a chain.
If you know all the rules, you can navigate properly if you prepare. That's why it's good to prepare instead of just deciding that you want to buy a house at the last minute.
Yes. Everybody, if you don't own a house right now, you can avoid all this. Keep all of your documentation. If you work at a job and you get a W-2 at the end of the year, get a safe, put your W-2 in a fireproof safe. If you work at 1099, keep your 1099 in a fireproof safe.
Yep.
Keep your tax returns in a safe place, because if you ever want to buy a house, we're going to ask you for those documents. And I can't tell you the number of people that come to me and say, "Oh, I don't have a W-2 for this job. I don't have a W-2 for this job." If that job goes out, that place goes out of business, only thing we can get is your transcript from the IRS. And some underwriters, we can work around it, but some underwriters won't accept that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They want to have that physical W-2 to verify that you actually worked at that place. So make sure you have all your documentation. If you have a weird income situation, talk to somebody now, please. Because if you don't talk to somebody now and you wait like it's getting until your back is up against the wall, you're going to delay your closing process or being able to purchase a home if you don't have your documents and everything in place.
Have you guys seen the Apple VR headset?
I have. So I'm not an Apple fan.
Haram.
I am. I used to run a couple AT&T stores back in the day.
Wait, before you tell
Drew
the
is
story,
trying so hard to not talk about this Android with these green bubbles he be texting.
Oh,
me.
he ruins
And
our
these
group
voice
chat.
messages.
And not only that, but he sends voice messages to the group chat, which then it comes as a file and you have to open it. And so I have to stop doing everything that I'm doing to click your thing to be able to hear it. And
But you get to hear my rich velvety voice. Calming and soothing.
what from when you do it from now on, because I get a little sad when I have to click them because then I have to stop what I'm doing. I need an affirmation.
I got you
in each one so that I'll feel a little better.
I'm gonna affirm you. Be like,
Thank
Ryan,
you.
remember that day you had that green suit on?
Yeah.
That green suit was it, man.
Thank you.
That was it.
My imposter syndrome won't let me accept the compliment, probably. I'm like,
no, it's when Drew make you go through all this work of opening the voice message just for him to be like, good morning, beautiful people. And then that's it. Like, that's it. Like, I just went through all of this for you to tell me good morning. You know what? Good morning to you too, Andrew. What you want? Like,
that's hilarious.
I just wanted y'all to know that I was thinking about you this early in the morning.
Sometimes I don't click them and I just wait for Candace to respond.
Oh,
and
that's what he's
I
talking
take
about.
the context clues of whatever she said as like the confirmation of whatever was said.
I say, get Ryan about this
Because you guys know I only skim messages. I like
you're a horrible communicator.
my responses are like way out of whack.
God.
I have typos. I don't even look at my phone when I text sometimes. I hit send before I even think about it. So
I be on the move, so I gotta voice message it a lot of times.
You do be on the move.
Stop the
You hear the wind through the
only
windows.
because you're such a great person, I allow this to happen.
I love you guys too.
If it was someone else, I'd be like, bro, stop
that. Stop
immediately. Wait, you saw the headset?
So I saw the videos.
The VR.
I haven't seen it like in person, but
Yeah.
that's the first thing that Apple has ever had that I was like excited about. I'm like, oh, this is cool.
I
So would
like-
you get them?
I would get it.
So if you guys don't know, Apple came out with a headset. It's going to be $3,500, which is kind of crazy for VR, but you can see through it really good. So it does augmented reality, right? So imagine if you were in your kitchen or something, you could just like see things inside of the kitchen, add it to it, and maybe like this is just my like interpretation of like how some of this stuff might work, or the apps or whatever. Like say your dishwasher had the app connected to it, it could tell you like how long the cycle was running just by looking at it and stuff like that, because you could see the world around you, which is pretty interesting. Which made me think for real estate applications.
Yep.
The one case where I've had this happen a lot is like I've worked with a couple clients where their wives were looking at houses and the husband's like deployed or overseas and they have to buy a house because they're coming here, so they have to hurry up, and they're buying a house that they haven't seen. I would assume maybe if she can put the VR on, the Apple headset on, she could walk through the house, and if he has a set, he can see it as if he was her.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Like through her eyes.
One of the things that I was thinking of is, just for people that were doing like renovation type projects and stuff like that, and like home design. So if you walk into a house that has ripped up walls and stuff like that, you can walk in with that VR headset and paint the wall here, put a couch and, bust the window out or put a pillar in and kind of just organize the whole house and make your whole bid right inside of the VR headset.
Almost like virtual staging in a way.
Virtual staging,
like
yeah.
All that.
I think that would be freaking awesome.
I think these are really smart, practical applications, like not like pie in the sky, like, oh my God, all this, but that seems very realistic and possible.
That's something, again, if that's once it comes out, I mean, somebody should start working on it. Maybe that's something we should start working on now, is a virtual staging app for those things, I don't know how many real estate agents would buy them, but I mean, I would imagine that would be a hot topic or hot item.
Well, I think the invoicing is interesting. I think staging is interesting too. Yeah.
So people can, again, you can buy one headset and you have to sanitize it, but you can use it for your clients. And stuff
Right.
like that.
Right.
Oh, that's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
Even like the investor friendly ones.
Yeah.
They're constantly looking at projects
Shells.
and shells, all that.
Even just painting the walls, right? Because you could probably put an application where you just paint the walls, right? So then, but you actually see what it would look like realistically.
They have Android apps. I mean, I'm sure they have it on Apple too, that you can go in and look at the walls and it'll map it, and then you can kind of paint the room and everything like that. But imagine not having to map it and it just it's there.
It's just
I
there.
actually did that with Amazon with a table.
Okay.
I placed it in the room and it gives it actual dimensions so I could kind of see if it would fit.
see if it was.
And it
Oh, that's
looked
dope.
kind of realistic.
Mm-hmm.
It actually
It's a little
was useful.
distorted, but
Yeah.
it's as good as it could be for something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, it was usable. Like a lot of this technology is so hype and it's like 10 years away, 20 years away for actually being able to be used. But some of the stuff actually has realistic
Yeah.
applications.
I'd use it in my office, like, because they haven't the video that I was watching, like you can bring up multiple screens at the same time. So I use 2 screens, sometimes 3 when I'm working on loan applications, stuff like that. I'll have a contract up here. I'll have the Encompass system, which is what we put our loans in here. And then I'll have like a calculator and something else over here. So I'm like but with those things, you can have a screen up here. You can have a web browser up here. You can have your contract over here. So it would like negate the need for a screen and you can do everything, virtually. So I mean, I think it's gonna be really cool. Best thing I think I've besides their savings account that they had through Goldman, best product I think.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. We got to talk about that Apple savings account. I've been trying to talk about this, guys. If you have an iPhone, you have to have the credit card though first.
You do.
But if you have the Apple credit card, you can get an Apple savings account and the daily cash, which is up to 3% cash back on the Apple credit card, can automatically go to your savings account. Yep. So like on mine, I got it since it started. I got $100 extra cash back in my savings account. And then the savings, I think it's up to 5%.
It was close.
It's 4 to 5%. I know it's between 4 and 5%.
I think the last time I looked, it was like 4.
What the heck is that?
Like Kevin over there.
Kevin's just over there pressing any button.
Click is the.
Kevin's got a banshee over there.
But the interest rate's higher than almost anything else, so I highly recommend that. I've been telling people.
If you got an Apple card, definitely look into it. I mean, especially if you have a large lump sum of money, or if you're just looking to save and everything like that. If you got the product already, you might as well use them because nobody else is giving you that type of return.
You do need discipline if you're going, because I've talked to some people and they're not disciplined, and so they say I'm not using it because I would never save because I'll just take the money out.
The cash back,
because it's really easy to just click a button. So if you're disciplined, I recommend it. If you're not disciplined, I always recommend to save money, make a separate bank account, some at a different bank, only make a savings account, and have no ways to withdraw the money unless you go to the bank. And that's a really good way to save money.
Make it 5 hours away, guys. Easiest way.
There you go.
Telling you from experience.
Because you ain't going unless you really gotta go.
Yeah. Direct deposit. Don't take a card.
Yep.
And
no
no Cash App, no Zelle, nothing attached to it. Easiest way.
I'm really proud that we're all here together and we made it.
We made it.
You guys could be anywhere else in the world, but you're here with me and Kevin and Prince. This is Prince, guys. He's 10.
Is he really?
It's my road dog. Yeah. He had a tick on his head today. I just wanted the whole world to know.
Oh
that.
God.
Oh Lord.
I don't like that.
Who's still in the chat with us?
There's like 6 people between Facebook and YouTube, but they stopped commenting. But shout out to you guys for hanging out with us, messaging, commenting.
You guys have any comments or questions before we go? We're gonna head out of here in a little bit.
Because they're getting warm. It gets warm in this room. I'm trying to work on it.
Drop them in the box, guys. If I was gonna, finish with anything, again, part of this was, buyers, bumps, bruises, and stuff like that. Your documentation matters in this process. So make sure, when you're sending over your documents, make sure they're clear. Make sure they're the entire page. If there's a blank page inside of the document that you're sending, send the blank page as well because it matters. Because the underwriter and the processor don't know that it's a blank page. They just know that it's missing from the page count. So make sure that's in there. No cash deposits. Don't open up any new credit. We didn't talk about that one because opening up new credit can drop your credit score because somebody pulled your credit. Don't buy your furniture before you close on your house because they're going to run your credit.
I just stopped her. She told me it was $3,000 too. I said, you better not do it.
Don't go buy a car before you buy. If you're going to buy a car, I've had clients do this. If you're going to buy a car before you purchase a home, let your loan officer know so you can work out. All right, well, you can still afford X, Y, and Z payment and purchase this amount of house. But don't just go buy a car willy nilly and spend $1,000 on a car payment. Now you can only buy $130,000 crib.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and don't think that because you were pre-approved that buying power is permanent, because I had a buyer do that. She got pre-approved for a certain amount. We were shopping around and everything. She went and bought out, got a car, $600 car payment, and her pre-approval ended up dropping like over $100,000 just because she went and bought the car. And she's like, "Well, I was already pre-approved, so okay, but you bought a car, you added more debt."
Yep, we didn't
So,
close.
mhm.
But no,
Didn't close. Gotta close first.
And I've told this story a million times, but don't go buy a boat. Please don't go buy a boat. I had a guy, business owner, buy a boat on me 3 days before closing. And he called me up. "Hey, Drew, I know you told me to call you when I made financial decisions, but so I'm calling you now. But I bought me a boat, man. She's a beauty. Da da da." He's going on, and I'm just thinking in my head. Now mind you, the guy made like $500,000 a year, but he was a business owner, and he wrote a ton of stuff off. So his DTI was right on the edge.
Mm-hmm.
So that boat, I said, well, Mister, you don't have a house anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You now have a houseboat because you bought a new liability during the process. So don't buy a boat, guys. Don't buy anything that's going to affect your credit. That's my last 2 cents. I'm off my soapbox.
I appreciate you.
That's all I got.
I just want to say, Drew was on a podcast.
Jeremy Chapman, what up, man?
Hey, Drew is a really great guy. Let him slide with his voice messages.
Thanks, Jeremy. I appreciate you.
I do. He's the only one.
He's the only one allowed to.
I just want to say, Drew, you were on a podcast with me 2 years ago.
Yeah. Been rocking and rolling, man.
Yeah.
Jeremy, you remember Jeremy?
Yeah, I know Jeremy. That's my guy. He should come to the pool party, actually.
Yeah, come through, Jeremy.
Candace, you got closing thoughts, comments? Buttercup.
Well, this is sad. I'm gonna miss you guys. I guess my takeaway is don't count yourself out. I think it happens with buyers all the time where they assume that because they may not be ready right then and there, that they're never going to be ready. And people sleep on the prep process. So all of this stuff about documenting your income, and if you have questions, like ask things up front. You don't want to get in your head so much so that you're not asking the proper questions as they come up. And then, like Drew was saying earlier, you're waiting until that lease is ending, or you're getting kicked out and you absolutely need to move, but you're not buy ready. So then you get forced into that hamster wheel of like renting. I just think that if more people gain the confidence to just link up with a professional that they trust and just start the conversation, that alone, like, it has been life-changing. Like, and I'm sure we can all agree, like, there are people that I'm shopping with right now that initially reached out to me back in like 2020, 2021. And we've been working together since then, and it's taken some time, but eventually they get there. And I think as long as people keep that in the forefront, that none of this stuff that we're talking about, it might seem out of reach, it might sound like it, but it's actually not. What matters is you have to at least start. And a lot of people get so stuck in their head that they don't even take that first step. And when you don't take that first step, you end up stuck. So just get out of your head.
Yeah.
That's the word.
That journey.
Ardhi Real Estate Podcast.
Yeah.
Featuring Beyonce.
Don't forget to send Ryan voice messages.
Send Ryan voice messages.
For all your inquiries about real estate, send Ryan voice messages.
I'm I love everyone. So if you do, I appreciate you. At least you're sending a message.
Yeah, there we go.
See you guys.
Hey.
Oh my God.